Welcome back to LinkedIn College Day at Western Connecticut State University with Post Road Consulting. My name is Craig Patton. We've just spent the morning learning about LinkedIn and personal branding with WCSU students and alumni. We also completed a 2-hour hands-on workshop to update all of the participants' LinkedIn profiles. Next up, we're ready to learn about using LinkedIn for a job search and career networking. Here is Sandra Long, President of Post Road Consulting.
And so now we're going to actually switch gears. So now we're going to be thinking a little bit, maybe relaxing, but thinking about our futures. As we're going to switch gears. How is this going to help me? What is the point of all of this, right? So and you're going to learn a little bit about my philosophy. You're going to create your own philosophy of how you're going to go about this, but I'm going to share with you my philosophy, right? So I'm going to share with you 2 deadly myths that I see all the time with new grads and with college students. I even see it with older people like myself. I see these 2 myths. I'm going to share them with you. And we're going to talk about LinkedIn. It's not about, LinkedIn's a tool is what it is. You have to make the difference. You are the one who's going to get the career that you want. LinkedIn is the tool. That's it. And these are the 4 steps. We just worked on personal brand all morning. That took, right? We've been working on that all morning, and you've all done such a wonderful job. But you never stop working on that. That's something that's going to be, all the time. Next month, you're going to have a new story. You're going to have a new accomplishment, and you're going to have a new perspective. Keep it fresh. And this is what we're going to do. So, the degree myth is the first myth. And I see it. And what I see is people say, and obviously I don't think any of you fall victim to this myth because you're all here. But you might have some friends that aren't here. And this is the myth, is that all I need to do is get my degree and I'm going to walk into the job I want. Do you think that's true? Good. These are the top-notch people here, right, Kathleen? Right, so it's true. It's a myth. It's not, so a degree is very, very important, but it's not all there is to it, right? It's not automatic. Get the degree and walk into this big job. You've got to have parallel efforts. What's great about today and Career Week was last week, right? Right? That's a parallel effort you're making. You're going to study. You're probably doing 3 tracks. You're going to school. You're working. And you're also working on your future. So it's a parallel track that you have to be successful. The second big myth, deadly myth, is what I call the online myth. And I see new grads, they graduated in 12, 13, 14, and they show up and I see them. They say, I need help with LinkedIn because I've applied for 200 jobs and I don't have a job. And I said, what else are you doing? That's all they're doing, is they're applying online. And applying online is the hardest way to get a job. It's the hardest way to get a job. And it's a big myth. It's a big myth. And if you spend your time online, it will be very difficult for you. You might get one, but it's very difficult. You'll see what I'm going to propose as an alternative. And here you might say, this is funny. This is the person teaching us LinkedIn, and she's saying we're not going to get a job online? Well, as I said, LinkedIn's a tool to get a meeting, to get an interview, to have a quality career conversation. The kind of jobs you want when you graduate from college, it's not like the job you get when you're 15, where you can maybe apply online, you can maybe even show up at the store and sign up, and you might get the job. But when you go to college, you want to get a higher level job. That's why you've just invested all your time and money. So getting off the online myth is important. Have you heard of this black hole of applications? Has anyone heard of this? Has anyone applied to a job and said, why don't they ever get back to me? Yes, right? All right? So the fact of the matter is, the applications that you're applying to online, most of them are not even read. Does that surprise you, or do you guys know all this? Kind of? All right. Why is it? Because the reason they do the online applications, the whole idea for that is it's after you're going down the path of interviewing, the person says, I think you need to apply online. You need to get it in the right order. If you're not meeting people and you're not getting the meetings and you're just applying online, you're there with 300 other people, right? So it's getting it in the right order. You want to get the conversations, the career conversations going. And we'll talk about how to do that. And we'll use LinkedIn to help you get there. LinkedIn's going to help you. You just don't maybe know how yet. So they're not even looked at, and often it's a compliance requirement. So these big companies especially, they'll say to the HR, you can't just hire somebody unless you put it online. Doesn't mean they're going to read the application. They're only going to read the application of someone who is referred, or someone that they know, or someone that they're specifically looking for, right? So it's a shame. I see people wasting years. I'm not talking about days. I've seen people waste years on this. And they say, I graduated 3 years ago. How come nothing's happening? Because this is what they were doing, right? Imagine the difference. Let's say you're a hiring manager and you're supposed to hire some people. You have to understand their perspective. They don't want to make a mistake. Just think about it. You work at a company, you don't want to make a mistake. So hiring the wrong person is a mistake. So if they have 300 people applying online, do you really think that they're going to take the chance? Or what about they're working at a company and someone down the hall walks down and says, here's a resume, and hands it over and says, take a look at this resume of Jim. And don't you think that you're now, that hiring manager is going to be looking at that? It's all of a sudden the risk is gone, or it's lower, because someone's referred them. Someone's walked down the hall and referred them. So put yourself in their shoes. You want to, they don't want to take a risk if they don't know you and they don't have any referral. All right, so it's not a passive activity. See this person, he's doing some crazy thing? It's a lot of work. You're here, you spent Friday morning here. This is just the beginning of all the work, but you can be the most successful by doing the work, right? By getting the meetings. So your network is in fact your biggest career asset. You're going to walk out of here with a degree, and that's a great asset. But right next to your degree is your network. So people make that mistake. They think, I have the degree, that's all I need. But guess what? You need the network. That's the other alumni. It's the professors. It's your college students, other students. It's people you meet in the community. Your network is your big asset, right? Do you agree? All right, perfect. So 70% of jobs are found through networking. So some people have the old-fashioned idea that networking is distasteful, maybe, and really networking is all about making friends. Making friends in the industry that you're interested in and being nice and helpful to other people. It's really that simple. And I don't look at it as, I don't like the idea that it's networking to always do something for yourself. Think about the other person and the people that you meet and how you can be helpful and they will help you. I mean, it is so true. So you develop the way that you network, and the more you're getting out there and having those conversations, people will connect you to positions. Does it sound like a fantasy? It's real. It's real. So here's the Department of Labor saying it. That's how jobs are found, through the network. So LinkedIn is just a tool, but LinkedIn is the best tool that you can have to help you get there. So the first thing is personal brand and profile, which we just did. You can be found by companies, right? You can build your network, you can find opportunities, and engage with your network. And we'll show you how that is on LinkedIn. So the first thing is there's 400 million people globally on LinkedIn. That just happened in December. That's a lot of people. 400 million. And who are those people? I told you this morning, they're the professionals, they're the most highly educated, and they're the highest income people. Those are the people that will hire you. Those are the people that you want to be hired by, because they have some money to pay you. Right? You want to get paid? Good. Good. That's it. That's it. You want to get paid. So 23 languages, right? And highest salary. We talked about the recruiters are on there. So here's another interesting piece. So the recruiter might find you, and that's one thing, especially if you're a millennial. But let's say you get referred, and that's the best scenario, when someone you know says, I need you to meet someone, right? You get referred, and that person's already warmed up to you. Well, 92% of those employers are going to still look at your profile. They got your name from somewhere, and that's how people are meeting. That's how I'm here. I met Kathleen because someone said, they referred me and my company to, they said there's a woman at Western that we want you to meet. We met, we saw what we had in common, and then that's how things develop, and here we are. Right? That's how things develop. So, oh, by the way, when I looked at her profile, before we met, I learned we went to the same college, right? So we had another thing to talk about, right? Now, students and new grads are the fastest growing segment on LinkedIn. So particularly since 2014, when they lowered the age for LinkedIn. LinkedIn now, you're eligible to be on LinkedIn at age 14. Yes, and the reason is, it's big data for a professional network. So if you're 14 years old or 15 or 16, you're thinking about where do I go to college, you can see where the grads went from the various colleges. You can say, well, these grads from Western Connecticut ended up employed at these companies. The ones that went to Southern went to these companies. The ones that went to UConn went to these companies. You can see it all, right? They built university pages in 2014. So Western Connecticut has its own page, and you get news from Western Connecticut. That was a new feature. They built a student job portal in 2014, right? And they built the Alumni tool, which we're going to share with you, and I'm going to give you a handout so that there's ways for you to find alumni that's really quick and easy so that you can have those really good career conversations. They did all that. So, job search on LinkedIn. Now, completing the profile, so by tomorrow, you're giving yourself the homework to make sure you got it all square, right? The next part is building your network, right? And getting referred. Now, if you talk to career services, and I do recommend that you do that, they will use the word informational interviewing. Have you heard that word? Has anyone heard that word?
I've heard of informal interview.
Informational interview?
Informal.
Informal, okay. You've heard informal. Who's heard informational interview? Yes? All right, so a couple of you have heard of that. So that's a term, it's a very common terminology, and it's a great concept, which basically means that there might not even be a job, but you're going out to learn and to meet people and to find out about what they do. I use the word, personally, I use career discovery or discovery meeting, but you can use whatever terminology you want is fine. But just sitting back and applying online isn't going to get you where you want to go. And then following up is key. Following up with people, and you can do that on LinkedIn, but following up is probably just a huge way to make a difference for your future. All right, so remember we talked about this. What makes you different? And honestly, the way you get those meetings and the way you follow up can make you different from everyone else. The average person might hear about an opportunity. Honestly, this is going to surprise you. They don't pursue it, or they apply online instead of what I'm going to show you to do. They do it that way, and that person's going to have a harder time. I want you to stand out by making it personal and reaching out to the people, having these conversations, and then following up. That will put you ahead of 90% of the people. All right, so who do I connect with? All these people are going to be important to connect. So connecting, remember that big asset is your network, and on LinkedIn it's called first level connections. So that means people that you've agreed to connect with, those are your first level connections. So it should be people from school, it should be people from your work, right? People from any clubs or organizations. Don't forget your family members. Your parents' friends are huge. Your friends' parents are huge. Your nephews and cousins, all those people. Why? They're not in my industry, right? But guess what? They know people. They're connected. They can be helpful. You want to connect with these folks as best you can. Community, all of these things all these people are people you want to be connected to. Because on LinkedIn, with the first level connections, I can message those people for free, and I can see who they know. So my cousin, who has nothing to do with what I do, but maybe my cousin goes to UConn, and my cousin graduated and went off to something, guess what? that cousin probably knows people that I want to know, even though they're in a total, your cousin's in a different field. So that's why those connections are really, really important. Make them people that you know and trust. I wouldn't connect with just anybody, be selective. So, as I said, free emails is really important. Sending a message, so think about all the people that have emails and they leave a job or they change their email, especially the young people. They're always changing. Once they're on LinkedIn, you can message them. You can think how lucky you all are. Those of you that are new grads or new students. All right, I have lost connection with most of my college friends. I have 4 or 5 of them that I keep up with. But you all should have hundreds of connections from college and high school. When you think about college and high school, right? We didn't have this when I graduated. So it's fabulous. So you get to do the free email. So let me go back. That person that you are sitting next to at WestConn, you're gonna have a much more likelihood of keeping up with them over the years. In 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you never know how you're gonna run back into that person. They might hire you. They might recommend you. And I would count on it. And you won't lose track of them because you're gonna be on LinkedIn with them, right? You can see their activity, the people that are on LinkedIn. And I like the idea that people that are your first level connections, that you are respectful to them. Don't be asking for favors that aren't appropriate. Be helpful first, and you'll always be good. Be a good citizen on there. Be helpful. Certainly you can ask for a favor, but always see how you can help that person also. How can we help each other is a great way to start it, right? So being referred. The best way to get a job is be referred. The best way to start a meeting is be referred, right? And one of the things you can do is refer other people and help other people get connected. Once you get into that habit, you'll be introduced to a lot of opportunities. So if you're gonna move to a new city, some people here are moving to new cities, right? You can look in your LinkedIn to see who's in that city. Who do I know? Maybe my cousin or my neighbor knows people in that city. If I'm gonna go to Boston or I'm gonna go to Vegas, wherever I'm gonna go, right? And you can find those people and say, I'd like to meet. Maybe we can help each other. All right, so you can also connect with hiring managers and recruiters that are in your industry, but you want to be careful how you do this. So you can tell a lot from someone's profile. So typically if they're a recruiter, you should, anyone you're going to connect with, I should say, read their profile. They're going to give you some big clues. So many times people just connect without even reading the profile. Really? It happens. You read the profile of a recruiter, oftentimes they'll tell you who they'll connect with. They'll tell you who they're trying to hire. Some recruiters list the jobs they're looking to fill. They'll oftentimes tell you their philosophy, like these are the 4 positions that are open right now. Because a recruiter could either be from a company that's hiring internally, or they could be an external recruiter. So you want to know what they are. Who are they? What are they doing? And they might even say, I have these 3 positions, but I'm anticipating and I look forward to talking to people that have a degree in marketing or whatever. Read the profile. And then when you send an invitation, you want to be personal and customized and say, in reading your, you can even say, I understand that you're looking to connect with such and such. This would be a great match. I'd like to really connect with you. You might even ask for a phone call, but make it personal, right? You can come up with something about their profile that they've done. Maybe you could say we have something in common. We went to the same college, or we both majored in the same thing. Make it personal and reach out. But I wouldn't stop there. If it's somebody that is interesting to you, why not try to have a meeting with that person, whether it's hopefully in person. All of these things. Following company pages is big. So on LinkedIn, there's individual pages, which we all just did. Western Connecticut has a university page, and the companies have company pages. So if you have a company in mind that you want to work for, you find the page and you follow the page. So does anybody know why you would do that? They do post, they do put positions up. That's one answer. Anybody else?
Shows an interest.
Shows an interest. Yes. Do you know that when they go in that recruiter platform, they can screen you out if you're not following the page? Now, if you've got 400 applicants, they don't have a lot of time, these people. If they got 400 applicants and they know that 200 of them are following the page and 200 aren't, who are they going to bother with? Right, they know those people are more interested in their company because they don't want to waste a lot of time. They don't have a lot of time. So they're gonna be more interested in you if you're following their page. The third reason is you'll get the news. So if you're interested in working at Bowringer's a local company, right? And you're following their page, you might see that they're starting a new division, or somebody was promoted, or they're something new products. Wouldn't you want to know that so that when you go to talk with them, maybe you could use that as part of what you're talking about? So those are good reasons you follow the company page. And then the groups, you can participate in groups. There's a lot with groups. I think I'm going to get into that in a minute. I would definitely join your Western Connecticut alumni groups. Definitely put that on your homework list for tomorrow. Join the groups. Because as I was learning this morning, many of the alumni are local, right? So join the groups and check them out. And if there's some real personal connection, again, where you're helpful, you don't want to approach alumni just saying, hire me, or I need a job. That's not a really good way to start, right?
And a lot of schools here also have their own pages. The Ancestral School of Business, for
Perfect.
example, has its own page. And sometimes on there that we do post, if a job happens to come up, then we actually get it on there. We're not always as great as we'd like to be on some of this part of the social media, but there's a lot of very helpful information that you can hear at WCSU, the different schools are posting.
Perfect. So different schools, so look for your different school. Look for, and sometimes they'll have alumni groups. Sometimes some schools even will have it by major or by, you just got to look at all of the options. Great. All right, so group, we just talked. So if you want to join the finance industry, there's financial groups, right? If you want to join in marketing, some of you are marketing and accounting, there's marketing and accounting groups. Those are people that would be potential that you could learn from and you potentially can meet. Right? All right, so finding alumni. Now this is very cool. There's a tool in here that you can, if you want to be specifically targeted on alumni, there's definitely an etiquette about reaching out to someone you don't know, which we're going to talk about. But there's a tool in LinkedIn, which I'll show you. Once I'm done with this, I'll show you exactly how you can go in there and filter them out, where they work. So let's say, go back to that example. Maybe I'm going to move to Boston. I can go and filter the Boston, the Western Connecticut alumni, what they majored in, where they work. I can get a list, and I can do it in 2 seconds, and I can have a list of this. Maybe there's 7 people. Those people are people I want to know. And I'll show you how to do it, and I have a handout here also so that you can do that as part of your homework. What they study, what they're skilled at, and here. So University of Rochester is where I went, and I can just do the screening, and I get my answers right here. Okay? And this one I did a search for IBM engineers, and those are my IBM engineers. Okay? Now, the whole key, so we're showing you all this, the whole key is to increase the number of career conversations. Those are conversations about where you're headed, you know, and what you're interested in, and kind of learning about a business, learning about an industry. That's what the goal should be, is increasing those conversations. And basically, you're going from, if you meet someone online, you want to take it offline. If you meet them and you see them, you want to see if you can possibly have a real meeting, right? Especially if they're an alum, they probably will be helpful to you. If you say, I'm graduating, I'm really interested in accounting, I've done these internships, I'd really like to learn more about what you've experienced in the accounting field since you graduated 5 years ago. Can you help me? You're not asking for a job, you're asking for some advice. Okay? And make it personal. So it's called informational interviewing. In fact, you can Google informational interviewing, you'll get lots of questions you can ask, because when you go in for an informational interview or a discovery meeting, they're not interviewing you, you're asking them things like, how did you get into accounting? What do you like about it? Where did you work before you worked here? And why did you make the change? You're learning about them, you're showing interest in them, and believe me, they will then show interest in you. and you'll learn, and you'll be building your network, and that's how that happens. So how do you do it? I would ask Career Services. They probably have sessions on informational interviewing. I'd ask them. I'd Google it, informational interviewing. I have articles on my, if you want articles, I have lots of articles on Pinterest under post-road consulting, under interviewing. But I would look at your connections, your friends, your parents, your friends' parents, your nephews, your cousins, your neighbors, your colleagues, your students, all those people you know in your network. And you can see who they know, and you can sort them out. I can show you that as well. And then you can use the LinkedIn alumni tool. I would probably, since you're all related to the school, I think I'd start with the alumni tool, and I'll show it to you in a minute. I think I'd start there, because you have a great asset with having alumni here. All right, how do you meet someone you don't know? Well, I just said, you want to look at their profile, and you want to be providing value. You want to be helpful. You don't want to call someone up and say, I'm here because I need a job. I'm here because I need an interview, right? It's just too hard for people to think of all the people they're going to get saying that. You want to be more helpful and more strategic, and you're building your network. You're going to be more likely to get a meeting if you're saying, I'm looking to learn. I'm looking to learn more about the accounting field or more about marketing. I want to learn about your business. They'll meet with you. Many of them will, right? And then just keep doing that, and you're going to find you're going to have a lot of success. So here's what you'd say. I'm a junior at Western, right? I'm very interested in whatever they're doing, because you've looked at their profile. And you might even say, I was really interested because we have this in common, right? Would you be able to offer me some insight and advice about your career, about your business? Chances are they'll meet with you and they'll say, geez, they'll ask about you at the end, and they'll say, you know, I'd like you to meet someone, and they'll introduce you to someone else. And that's even a question you can ask after you've met with them is, who else can I meet with? Now, if the person says, yes, I'll meet with you, sometimes they'll say, sure, I'll meet with you. And it's up to you to make sure you steer it, if you can, to a live meeting. So if the person says, oh, sure, give me a call next Tuesday at 10 o'clock, that will happen. And you will say, oh, well, as it turns out, I'm going to be in your neighborhood next Tuesday. Why don't I just come over and have coffee with you? Try to always get live first. Because live meetings, people get more interested in you. They meet you. It's always better. Live is best. And then if you can't do that, try Skype or phone. All of these are better than an online application, an online meeting, an email correspondence, and even LinkedIn. LinkedIn is there to help you get here, because this is how you're going to get the job. All right, so the follow-up is critical. So you can have a great meeting, and I can tell you it happens all the time. People don't follow up, and you're forgotten. You can have an average meeting. You can have an average interview. You could be interviewing, there could be 5 people interviewing maybe at the final level of an interview, and maybe you are number 3. Honestly, you could have come in, they rank you. You leave that interview, you're ranked number 3. But your follow-up can put you in number 1. Do you believe me? Who believes me? All right, good. Because it's true. Why? Because most people don't follow up. So if you're really good at following up, you can put yourself in a, so how was that? So after that interview, whether it's a informational interview or a regular interview, you think about what they said, you come back thanking them for their time, and mentioning something that you talked about, something that they advised you on, and say, by the way, this was really good information for me and why it was helpful. So they know, they're remembering your conversation, but you don't leave it at that. Because everyone, hopefully, out of those 5 people that were the top, say 3 or 4 people are going to send some kind of an email. But then you wait a few days later, and if they've given you some advice like, oh, you should read this article, or whatever it might be, you go back 3 days later and tell them again, I took your advice. I read that article, or I met that person. If you're the best at follow-up, you can move from number 3 to number 1 for that job. I'm glad you guys all believe me. That was good. But it's true. I see it all the time. And it's the same with interviewing for a job, and it's the same on selling too. If you're in the selling world or you're starting your own business, following up is what cements you in. Oh, so for LinkedIn, how do you do that? Well, let's talk about, let me go back. So you can message the person on LinkedIn. You could do it on email, you could do it on LinkedIn. I like to do both. I mean, even a handwritten one, right? You could share their post. You could comment. There's lots of ways you can do that to follow up with someone. But definitely an in-mail, that's the messaging that's built in. All right, so now there is a job tab. So you can actually find jobs in LinkedIn that companies post through their company page, and you can do a search for them, and you can put your preferences in, and you can save jobs. And one thing I want to tell you, anything you do in the jobs tab is completely private. So if you apply for a job through LinkedIn, nobody will see that but you, and they will save it in there for you. Now everything else, when you're talking about posting things and sharing content, assume that everyone's going to see it. So the privacy is on the job tab and in the in-mail messaging, the one-to-one messaging. That's private. Everything else assume is public. So be aware of that. So here we go on the jobs. And what I like about LinkedIn is, so here's a job at Xerox, is instead of just applying for the job, I can see, number one, I have 7 connections to the guy who posted it. So here's the guy that posted the job, Kevin. All right? Well, right off the bat, I want to know, that's interesting. There he is. And I can send him a message. So I can put myself in a different position than everyone else. And if I'm going to apply, I'm probably going to send him a message and say, I'm about to apply. I'd like to, could we have a 5-minute phone conversation? I have a few questions. He's going to remember you, right? Have some really good questions. And then I have 7 connections in common. I'm going to call my friends. I'm going to look at that list and say, how do you know Kevin? I might find that one of my best friends is related to Kevin or knows Kevin. I mean, LinkedIn knows all this. So that's a huge thing. And here's another person. This is a person who's a recruiter. I had 51 people in common with her. I mean, don't you think I could probably get a conversation? Probably, right? If I ask it right. So you want to see who you know that knows these people to help you. Again, getting referred is better than going into the black hole. You want to get someone who's going to refer you to a position. And these folks can help you. On LinkedIn, it will show you the pathway. But you got to be able to take the initiative yourself. All right. So you can contact the job poster. Now, one thing you need to be aware, you can apply for a job on LinkedIn. See where it says apply now? And sometimes it will send you to the company website, and that's fine. And sometimes it will say, apply with your LinkedIn profile. And that means they're not even asking for a resume. So the company will decide, when they put a job up, they'll decide, do we want to ask for a resume? Sometimes it's a resume optional. It'll be interesting in 5 years to see whether they'll all be resumes or not. People are talking about, our resume's dead with LinkedIn, right? I mean, they're going to look at your LinkedIn profile on top of your resume, so, in addition. So here's an example when I just hit apply, it's saying upload a file. So if I want to, I can click on that upload a file, and that's where I put my resume. Right, but I've started down the path. And again, this is all private. Don't worry, nobody will see this part. So to target the company, we talked about this, you're going to show your interest by following their page, right? Seeing what their news are. See who you know. If you really want to work at Boehringer or GE or, whatever company, you really want to work there, spend your time knowing everything about that company. Know their culture, their products, their services. Get to know their employees. Because here's another secret. The employees that work at these companies usually get paid a bonus if they can refer someone that gets hired. Did you know that? Okay, so think about that. The employees get paid, they might get paid $500 if they refer someone who gets hired. So they are incented. Why would a company do that? Trusted person, right.
I was going to say
Less of a risk, right. If they've got these employees that they like and they know, and this person recommends someone else, typically it's probably gonna be someone in that person's network. I mean, it makes sense. It's less risky. So get to know the employees. So go to the company page and see who you know at that company or how you can get to know someone at that company. Because you can see it all on the company page. All right. So here, if I go to the Xerox company page, just so you're aware, there's a home page which gives all the news is under here. Some of them have a career section. And in the career section, you can see the jobs. Sometimes they'll have videos in there. They'll have descriptions of what they're offering for careers. I can see how I'm connected. I've got 7 first-degree connections at Xerox, right? Second degree, most likely you're going to have second-degree connections. That's okay. That means somebody that you know knows somebody at that company. So if you have Bowringer up here, if you have second-degree connections, that means you need to look at those people. You click on that and see who do you know that knows those folks. All right. So who are you going to follow up with? You know I'm big on follow-up, and you guys were with me on that boat. I saw you. All you raised your hand. Your hiring manager. You're going to follow up with your hiring manager. You're going to follow up with a recruiter. The person who referred you. Don't forget the person who referred you. Oh my gosh, you want to get referred? You go back and thank the person who referred you and give them an update. They will be motivated to refer you again. They'll be invested in you. So remember to do that. And everyone who helped you along the way. Get really good at that, and you will stand out amongst everyone who's applying. So what do you say? Thanking for the introduction. You give them a status. I followed your advice. All those things. Make it personal. It will work. And you're going to stand out from the crowd. So you're going to use LinkedIn as your tool to get real meetings, to have real career conversations, and ask for advice, because especially those of you that are in college or newly graduating, people expect to help you and give you advice, but you also can be helpful to them, and you can stand out. So it's all about real meetings. So you might be surprised that it's not all about being online. It's all about real meetings. And don't fall for the 2 myths. You all remember those myths? All right. Okay? All right. So there we go. Thank you very much.